Okay, well, let's see if they appreciate this topic because this is pure gold right here. The topic at hand is how to identify opportunity. See, most people think opportunity is going to fall on their lap. Sometimes you have to just identify. You don't have to create the opportunity. You have to identify it. It's already there. And then here's the more challenging part, and this is especially true of high achievers. It's being able to know when to quit. In our society, especially if you grew up during my era, being a quitter is a bad thing. You don't want to be a quitter. That is a person who gives up too early, person who doesn't put in a real try, someone who is never serious. You don't want to be a quitter, which is mostly true. But, I had the opposite problem. I didn't know when to quit. It actually turns out that there is a time to quit. And if you don't quit certain things, it will be detrimental to you. If you don't quit a certain romantic relationship, you don't quit a certain job, you don't quit certain friendship associations, it'll be detrimental to you. But first, let us talk about opportunity because you can't quit it unless you're already in it. And the first thing is, well, what can we get into in this life? What are the things we can achieve?
We have Nick sent a cash app. He said, tuition, Sasson, or nothing. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Good to hear from you,
and
sir.
We have Emmanuel just got the Jab Journal.
Oh, shout out to him. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
What can you get into? I grew up as an impoverished African American hearing a lot about how we were being held down, mostly by the system or the white man. Turns out, I don't know if this is entirely true. I think a lot of the things holding you down are you. But all the same, you hear of all these things holding you down and you feel like there's not enough opportunity for you to thrive. When it turns out there's opportunity all over the world. Let me tell you a trick. Funny story. You know how in ghettos, whether it's a black ghetto, a white ghetto, a Latino ghetto, an Asian ghetto, I've never seen an Asian ghetto, but you get the point. In ghettos, people sell drugs so that they can make some money in this impoverished place. Well, I tell you what, you wouldn't be able to make any money if there was no money there. So obviously there's some money there. Lets you know that we always have to question the thinking that we have. Mostly it's our thinking that's impoverished. So when I say you must identify the opportunity, most of us have trouble identifying the opportunity. We rely on paths that have already been defined by others. Path dependency. You used to hear African Americans say silly things like, oh, well, you can't make it out of here unless you're a rapper or a basketball player or an athlete, a musician or an athlete, entertainer or a guy that uses his body, kind of like a slave, but don't use that word. So I say that to say the opportunity is not identified because if you're a drug dealer in a ghetto, that means that there's money in a ghetto. So the question is, are there other products and services that people will buy? Perhaps products and services that won't land you in jail. There are generally always opportunities about, but you're failing to see them and, more importantly, seize them. I was taught a meaningful lesson by a mentor I had in Baltimore, Maryland. An older gentleman who had lived through many ages, lived through segregation, Jim Crow, survived the South, went to segregated schools, all that stuff. And I remember he told me, he said, Mr. Burton, sometimes you just have to throw your name in the hat, which is to say, present yourself for opportunity. Sometimes you win the opportunity just because there's no one else. You might say, Marquette, what are you talking about? You ever showed up at a basketball court? Some guys want to run 5-on-5. The one team has their 5 guys. The other team only has 4 guys. Doesn't matter if you're an all-star or if you suck or if you can't dribble a ball. They need a 5th guy, and it's you. Doesn't matter what your skills are or your talents or your experience or background. It's you because you're there, because you showed up. Showing up is half the problem. It's half the battle. Putting your name in the hat is a critical part of seizing opportunity. It's just called taking a chance. You ain't even got to deliver the goods sometimes. You just have to be present and present yourself.
On PayPal, we have Mitchell said opportunities only look like opportunities in the rearview mirror. Today, they look like risk.
That's a curious formulation. Certainly, there are many opportunities that have risk or might appear to be risk. And those are probably the ones that are going to give you the greatest returns. There are other opportunities that don't look like risk at all. It might look like a waste of time. Listen to me. There are some opportunities that don't look like risk. They look like a waste of time. Marquette, how is that? Another funny story. At PTA meetings and things like this, sometimes they have raffles. You know, you pay $5 and you tear off a ticket, and then they call the number on the ticket and you might win something. They have these at galas as well. And at the gala, they have really cool, fancy items like a trip to Aspen or a 5-day stay in the Kingdom of Morocco, different things like this. And so you go and you pay your $400 for your raffle ticket, and you could potentially win something that's worth way more than $400. Now, here's the funny thing. Sometimes you go into that gala and everyone is schmoozing and boozing and sitting down and having deep conversations with the mayor of so-and-so city and the Earl of Yorkshire. And they forget to buy their raffle tickets, or maybe they just really didn't care to buy the raffle tickets, but who knows? I bought 5 raffle tickets. I was feeling generous. I bought 5 raffle tickets, and then they start calling off the raffle tickets, and by golly, I won almost everything because no one else bought any raffle tickets, which is to say it seemed like a waste of time to buy the raffle tickets because there's so many tickets and you're not guaranteed to win a prize, except that no one else bought raffle tickets. Kind of like if it's out raining and you're in door-to-door sales and you sell solar panels, well, that's a great day to go selling solar panels. Why? Because no one else is knocking on anybody else's door. You're not going to be the third salesman to knock on that door that day. You're going to be the first one and the only one because it's raining and no one wants to walk around in rain. So what I'm saying to you is sometimes opportunity, it might look like risk, as Mitchell identified. It also might look like a waste of time. Oh, I'm not going to go out there and knock door to door when it's raining. I'm not going to buy a raffle ticket. There's so many raffle tickets. You're probably not going to win anything. It's like playing the lotto. So many things that have minor barriers, but you don't overcome them because you have a psychological barrier. You've imagined there being a roadblock in the real world that actually does not exist. Except that if you tried, it would all be open unto you. So what I'm telling you is that you have to try, but I'm not telling you to try everything. I'm telling you to try the things that have meaning to you. One of the worst things you can do is spread your attention and your energy and your capital thinly among many different things, which some of you do that. But the greater majority of you do very little. You do not enough. Sometimes you do nothing. You waste your time with video games and idle text message conversations with girls you're never going to meet because they live 3 states away. And you're never going to go see them, and they have no intention of going to see you. So I'm saying give it a try, whatever it is. That's the critical part of opportunity, is the attempt.
We have Marcus said, have you ever ran into exes and they were cold towards you? I saw my ex a few weeks ago at the fair, but she wouldn't even look in my direction. Her father passed, and I wanted to give my condolences, decided to just keep going.
Yeah, bro, go ahead and carry on. I mean, what does it matter? Are you living life in reverse? You heard me? Are you trying to drive forward while looking in the rear view mirror? You're trying to drive forward, looking in the rear view mirror. That's hard to do, my friend. See, this is a part of growing up. Number one, she's probably a cold, ruthless broad. No doubt about that. We've all had exes like that. Good thing they're our ex. But what you have to do is harden up and wise up, which is to say, why waste any time in a relationship that doesn't exist and won't come back into existence? So, yeah, I mean, she probably did the right thing. No need to rekindle things and no need to offer your kind words. It won't bring her dad back to life. So you might as well carry on. But your initial question is, do I have exes who are cold? Oh, absolutely. And you know what I learned? You learn a lot about a person in business when the deal or the sale doesn't go through. How do they behave on the back end of that? You learn a lot about them. You learn a lot about a spouse or a friend at the end of the relationship. You know, when there's a major issue that causes you to feel like you guys need to go your separate ways, how civil are they at that point? Do they badmouth you? Do they talk about you? Yeah, you learn a lot about people's character in those moments because what's removed is them needing you for something. So now they're not interacting with you based on their need, wants, and desires. They're interacting with you based on you having nothing that they need. It's just their character you're seeing at that point. You see, I don't know how a lot of people around this city feel about me because I tip a lot. I give a lot of tips. I do a lot of favors. A lot of people look at me as a cash cow. I don't know how they feel. I'm suspicious of it. Absolutely. But I say that to say this to you. Yeah, you're about to do a deal with so-and-so, and then the deal goes through, or someone was about to sell you something, and then now you won't buy it, and see how they treat you. Yeah, you learned a lot about her. But the most important thing you learned about yourself is that you are not focused on the right area of life, which is the future, the present and the future. And she is relevant in neither of those.
Okay, on Cash App, we have Isaiah said, we need this topic. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
On PayPal, we have none of the above.
Shout out to none of the above.
Late night tuition. This live reminded me that I need to book a consultation with you soon. Oh, I'm sorry. He sent $50.
Baller alert.
My mistake. This live reminded me that I need to book a consultation with you soon. I have a gist of what to discuss.
Yes.
This type. But I need more granular action items, and that's what's been holding me back. Anyways, how was your day? Peace to the saints.
It's been a very productive day, fast-paced day. Yes, the day's gone swimmingly. Everything that I wanted to do today, I've done, and I didn't waste any time with thinking. Thinking is often the enemy of action and progress. It might sound strange, say, Marquette, you didn't waste any time with thinking. Don't you want to think before you move? Not generally not. I think I've done enough thinking. Now it's time for acting. Thinking generally allows in procrastination, fear, paralysis of analysis, things like that. And no need for thinking.
St. White said, is that assassin t-shirt?
You know what? I don't even know if we could rightly call this a t-shirt. This is like kind of like a linen piece that I'm, it's in prototype stages right now. I'm thinking about putting it out there. Going to make a few minor modifications. I'm liking the fit of it. It's definitely a high quality piece. I'm trying to get beyond t-shirts, you dig? So we might come out with this at some point.
And Mitchell, I'm still waiting to see your video.
What video?
Of his assassin MDB label.
Oh, shout out to the Saints that put out their collection. You heard me. I'm waiting for Walton to drop in and Mitchell to drop in, because I think it's really a battle between Walton and Mitchell, because I know they have like a whole setup. And if you're a member and you're part of the Discord, you know what we're talking about. You dig? Boss talk.
We have, speaking of Mitchell, he just got the hand and body wash.
Oh, very good. Did he get the
Assassin brand?
Refresh. Okay, the refreshing. Okay, great. Yeah. I still want to try the fruit flavor. Pause. Flavor. It's not even a flavor. You know what I mean? Pause again. But now check this out. So opportunity is one thing. And when you're thinking about opportunity, it usually comes in the form of people, individuals, places, being at the right location, and positions. Positioning yourself within the right location or within the right socioeconomic status. Positioning. It's like you can be somewhere, but to position yourself is to put yourself in the most strategic place within that environment. I'm going to do a live tomorrow breaking down kind of when we were exiting through the VIP exit yesterday at the boxing match with all the celebrities. And there were a lot of things that I learned about how I could better position and seize more opportunity. I'm going to do a whole live session and analyzing that, because I want you guys to understand my thinking and how you can leverage your opportunities that most people are going to look over, miss, opportunities that are going to be invisible to people who don't have a hustler's mind. You dig? I really want to talk to you guys real quick about quitting. I want you first, as you're soaking in this lesson, I want you to reflect on yourself and ask yourself, am I a person who knows how to be consistent and persistent? So first ask yourself that. If you don't currently know how to be consistent and persistent, this lesson does not apply to you. You are not ready. I'm going to say that one more time. If you do not currently know how to be disciplined, consistent, and persistent, this lesson does not apply to you. You can still listen, but do not follow this advice. It's not for you. First, let me clarify what I mean. Discipline. You can rule over yourself and get yourself to do things on a regular basis, things that may be difficult to do, things that may require a lot of you. Consistent, you're doing things with regularity. Persistent, you might encounter challenge or roadblock. You keep hammering away, not necessarily using the same method, maybe using a different strategy, but you keep at it. Persistent. That's a part of your makeup and wiring and your conditioning. Those are great qualities, foundational to a real man who will be successful. Another side of that I did not learn until my mid to late 20s was the ability to quit. Yes, because it seems to be diametrically opposed to the concept of being disciplined, consistent, and persistent. Quitting seems like the opposite. Well, the problem with high achievers is that high achievers usually achieve well because they're disciplined, consistent, and persistent. They don't know when to quit. Many times when I was a young boy, I'd be working on something, trying to fix something or solve something. My mother would say, "Oh, boy, give that up." Or, "Boy, don't you think you worked on that enough?" Or, "You should go to bed." And no, I'm locked in. I'm focused. Hustle mania. And I would persist until I figured it out. And most every time I figure it out. Time investment, focus, you'll figure it out. And so I carried on with that mentality, which at some level was conditioned into me. And at some level, there's maybe something inherent. I don't know. I was raised to be focused, consistent, and disciplined and persistent, all that good stuff. So who knows if it's really just what I'm born with or what I was taught? I don't know. But I know for sure you can be taught it and trained into it. Anyways, I ended up in the very worst job I've ever had. Maybe one of the worst jobs that anyone has ever had. Actually, two times that happened to me. 2 times. You can read about it in the Black Box, and I really hope you do read about it because it's a very emotional story, and it was hell on earth for me, and it literally made me sick. I ended up in 2 times in the worst possible job any human being could have. The first job was I was a public school teacher in Baltimore, and that was a terrible, draining, soul-killing job for several reasons. It was also very rewarding, but it was extremely soul-killing for several reasons. I was doing a program called Teach for America. Most people quit. And I was always shocked at that because they mostly recruited people from Ivy League schools, people from elite institutions. They recruited people who don't quit. They recruited people who are above average IQ and work ethic. They recruited the cream of the crop. I was like, how are these people quitting? I don't want to be a quitter. And Teach for America so that they can get you to actually follow through. They verbally lash these persons in their absence. Oh, yeah, they quit. They don't really care about the kids. They're all about themselves. They want to go to law school. They don't really care about anybody. You guys are better. You're going to finish your 2-year commitment. And so I did, like a good robot. I finished my 2-year commitment, even though it made me physically sick. And then after that, I end up going into somebody put my wife just got into TFA. Okay. Then I went into another job that was absolutely soul destroying. The hours were out of control. You never get a moment of rest. I was working long overtime hours without overtime pay, and I was on call when I wasn't working, which included when I was supposed to be sleeping, managing a program at Johns Hopkins Medical. It was too much. In fact, again, I end up getting hurt. I ripped my Achilles in half on accident playing basketball because I didn't have time to stretch because I had to go and exercise on my lunch break, and I didn't have a full lunch break, so I didn't have time to stretch, warm up, and exercise. So I just went straight in and ended up snapping my Achilles tendon and having to have surgery. And I'm going to go through some of these things in Boston University, kind of, the mind-body connection, how to nourish yourself, how to recover, how to take care of yourself, these kind of things that are necessary for real hustlers, people who are really grinding, or better yet, gliding, trying to get to the next level. Those are the people who need self-care. A lot of you people out there, you don't need self-care. You need to work. You ain't working enough. But the point is, I ended up in a second job that was soul killing. And I didn't know how to quit. I didn't know how to just write a letter of resignation and tell my boss, like, hey, this is too much. This is not right. I'm destroying myself. trying to help other people. Now, at this time, I did not have the revelation of the 3-sentence Bible. Number one, be yourself. And that job was not for me. Number two, be good to yourself. I was destroying myself. And number three, be good to good people. Good people wouldn't have put me through that. If my boss was a good person, they wouldn't have had me working all those hours. You got to take care of yourself because sometimes no one else will take care of you. I didn't even have it in me to quit. I was going to die in that job. I didn't have it to quit Teach for America. My 2-year requirement ended, and I didn't have it in me to quit this job. I was going to basically just die in the job, let the job kill me. But I ended up rupturing my Achilles tendon, and they were still trying to work me from the hospital bed, kid you not. And eventually I was essentially terminated. I got severance because they couldn't work me hard enough because I couldn't be on the scene because I was not ambulatory, meaning I couldn't move around. So I say that to say I was somewhat fortunate, but after that, I knew I would never go back into a job that I hated. And let me flip this on you. Not only did I hate the job hated me. I'm not saying the people, I'm saying the job hated me. The job was trying to kill me.
Okay, we have Zay said, if my assistant has been throwing it at me, should I slay or stay professional? How do you manage this issue, Saint? Would you slay an assistant?
I would not slay an assistant, and I've had a lot of experience with this. And you guys may remember the Ethiopian young lady. I never got involved with her at all. And once I figured out that she had a pornographic video on the internet, I was very thankful that I did not get involved with her because it was much easier to fire her without having any, unnecessary attachments. So keeping things professional will be to your benefit.
Okay, on Cash App, we have Johnny sent tuition.
Shout out to Johnny supporting the work. I appreciate those of you who actually show love to those who show love to you. So in this book, I talk about essentially the experience of quitting and the challenge of not knowing when to quit. I want you all to know when to quit. And sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, it involves having the honest thought of, I'm too good for this. That's generally when you need to quit, when you know, not when you're considering, not when you're unsure, but when you know, I'm too good for this, whatever this is. This woman, this relationship, this city, this neighborhood, this family, this friendship, this job, this circumstance, this income level, whatever it is. If you know you're too good for it, quit now. I'm giving you permission. But I also want to caution you because I said that there are many of you who are not even good at being consistent, disciplined, and persisting. Many folks drop out of college and they have all these explanations of why they did it, which are fairy tales, they're lies. You didn't drop out of college because you have an entrepreneurial idea. You didn't drop out of college because you don't like the structure. You didn't drop out of college because you're not learning anything. You dropped out of college because you're lazy and inconsistent and you don't have work ethic and you don't know how to study. That's why you dropped out. So let us not lie to ourselves. What I'm saying is if you're a focused, hardworking, disciplined person and you are being drugged through the dirt by a job or a circumstance, it's okay to quit. And in fact, it favors you to quit appropriately. And sometimes you have to quit to upgrade. And I want you all to remember that.
Okay, we have none of the above. Just got the waffle beanie on Man and Woman brand.
I got the black one. Which
one?
The
black one.
Nice. Fine choice.
Carry on.
And by the way, send in your comments, questions now so that by the time I'm ready to wind down, I can address them. I want you to remember a couple of things in summary. Number one, opportunity often is about trying, literally just making an attempt. If you're able to actually deliver the goods, then you are one step above, actually 2 steps above the average person. You see, because the average person never attempts. They're scared to even try. Imagine how easy our lives really are when we're competing against individuals who are too scared to try, to attempt, to put their name in the hat, to raise their hand, to say, hey, coach, put me in the game. Too scared to try. So if you try, you're one step ahead. If you have the goods to deliver, you're 2 steps ahead. That is the beginning of all of the great things in life.
Okay, we have Indy said, peace to the saints. I've heard people go through phases in their productivity levels. Thoughts recently neglected my emotional health and it affected my productivity with my 14-day sprint.
This is important. I kid you not, just today I was finishing up what is now going to be the very first lesson in Boston University. You see, the order of things matters a lot to me. I've categorized things into sections, and the order matters a lot to me because I want the knowledge to build on itself. I was either going to start the first lesson with a lesson called "What is a Loser?" It's important to know because this is what you don't want to be. Sometimes you drive yourself psychologically by pursuing what you want, and other times it's by avoiding what you don't want. So that was going to be the first lesson, but I just finished a lesson today, and it speaks to understanding human happiness. As a human being, what are the sources of happiness that are common to all human beings? And obviously, in dealing with that, you're dealing with human emotion. And so I'm starting the course with that. And I'm also ending the course with essentially dealing with the human emotions, where we're talking about self-care and things like that. So I think you'll enjoy this a great deal. But yes, take care of yourself. That is the 3-sentence Bible. Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, be good to yourself. Do not neglect that. And remember, you will not perform unless you are at peak.
Okay, Noor said, peace to the saints, just paying tuition and tapping in.
Peace of the saints. Good to hear from you.
Carry on.
So I want to encourage you all with something unusual. The question of, what am I going to quit? There's something in your life that you should quit. And I'm compelling you right now to quit it immediately. Not in 2 days, not in 2 weeks, not when you get connected with a therapist or a life coach or a pastor, but to quit it now. What are you going to quit? Whether it's marijuana, cigarettes, gambling, promiscuous women, being a poor money manager, being irresponsible, being dishonest, being ill-tempered, being ill-mannered, whatever it is, or running too many businesses, running businesses that are not profitable, hanging around people that are no good to you, being around men or women who want to use you. What are you going to quit? What relationships are you going to quit? How are you going to simplify your life for the good of your life? That's a question I'm putting to you, and you should have an answer. We all have some things that we need to quit. You might even be addicted to sugar. You might be eating a donut every morning, which is terrible. I hope you're not. But it's worth quitting if you are eating a donut every morning or drinking a coffee every morning. It's worth quitting. So what are you going to quit?
Keep going.
Also, remember, in terms of seizing opportunity, sometimes whether they is the hiring manager, the sports team, the corporation, whoever they are, the people hosting the raffle, the lottery, whoever they are, sometimes they just need someone. It could be you. If there's an audition in Los Angeles for a particular part in a commercial or a movie, they need someone. It could be you. Don't ever count yourself out. I want you to remember a lesson, and you can find this book linked in the description below. It's called The Magic of Thinking Big. It's linked in the description below. I think I have my Amazon link there with all of the books that I recommend. Only the most critical books. I've read hundreds of books, but these are the critical ones, probably thousands actually. And one thing you'll learn from that book is, if there are 2 jobs you could apply for in a given corporation. You could apply to be the CEO, chief executive officer, or you could apply to be the janitor, the one who does the cleaning and custodial work. Both jobs are valuable and necessary. But here's the funny thing. If you were to apply for the janitor's job, you'd be facing stiff competition. There are hundreds of people applying for this job to clean, and because it's a reasonably basic skill that everyone can exercise. So it's very competitive to apply to be the janitor, even though it pays very low. Or you could apply to be the chief executive officer, the guy who gets the big office and the corner suite with a great view, and he gets the esteem of the title, and he gets the high salary, and he gets an expense account. But for some reason, there's only 4 people applying to that job. There's only 4 people. Even if you're a complete loon and you apply, now you got a 25% chance. Theoretically, you're one of 4. And if for some reason no one applies or very few people apply, you might mess around and get an interview. Life is like that. Put your name in the hat. So remember, it could be you.
We have Ricky said, thanks for the value that you provide, MDB.
Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate the support.
We have Austin's question in the chat. I am trying to get to it if you can find it.
I got it right here. Austin writes, I remember you said, quote, if I could do it all over again, I'd do it the exact same way, end quote. I wonder how many will be able to say that on their deathbed. May all of the saints be able to say the same. Yes, and it depends on, I'm curious as to precisely what I was talking about when I said that. One thing I can say is I've made use of all of my experiences, even the experiences I wish I did not have, whether it was due to circumstance or otherwise. I've made use of every single one of them. Certainly, if I were talking to a young man who was like myself and wanted the things that I wanted, and he said he was going into Teach for America or teaching or even lawyering or even being a physician, I would steer him away from that. That is the wisdom of years and experience. And though your parents might have years, though elders in your community might have years, that doesn't mean they have wisdom. Wisdom is different. Years, they spent time on the earth. Everyone gets old, but not everyone gets wisdom. Everyone gets wrinkles, but not everyone gets wisdom. That's an important thing to understand. And for example, this quotation, if I could do it all over again, I'd do it exactly the same way. That reminds me, in this book, I have that quotation. There was a situation in which I performed like a hero. Essentially, someone had tried to test me. Not someone, actually, a couple Samoans tried to test me. And I went out like a savage. I went out like Rambo. And everyone around me thought that it was going to end badly for me. Women were screaming. There's a French girl that was there that knew me. She was screaming. She thought it was all over for me. And then at the end of it, I triumphed like a hero. And I remember thinking, if I could do that all over again, I would embrace the danger in the exact same way. I do everything the exact same way. It's always good when you can say that. And the reason I would do it the exact same way is because when the moment was upon me, I was prepared. I'd been preparing for it before the moment arrived. That's why I tell the men and the women that we have standards within this organization, within the civilization. You should be able to run at least 2 miles nonstop at a certain rate, no less than 10 miles per mile. And that's a standard that goes all the way up to people in their senior age. You should be able to hit 3 sets of 16 burpees. You should be able to do 100 push-ups within an hour of waking up, and so on and so forth. And these are the things that prepare a man to be a dangerous man when it's appropriate.
Okay, Carlos said, does anyone know if we can still get Bosch University? You can. I did tag you in the chat with the link. It's also in the description of the video.
Indeed.
And for people that get it on pre-sale, you do get to join a live webinar.
Precisely. We will be doing a webinar. I'll take you through the entire course. And every time I look at the course, I'm like, oh my God.
Bring your snacks and have someone make food for you.
Oh my God. Give me a pre-workout. We going in.
Okay. We have Greg said, just tapped in, Saint. How did you like the fight? Garcia came out guns blazing prior to that first knockdown. Wish we could have seen more of a fight. Peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints. I think the promotion, meaning all of the fights collectively, I think they were largely mismatched and unimpressive. I remember the fight between the fellow who was from Uzbekistan versus what was the fellow, our buddy from Puerto Rico?
Oh,
Rosado.
Yeah.
And shout out to Rosado. Saw him in San Juan. We was kicking in San Juan for a little bit. But he fought this Uzbek, and the fight was quite boring. It even looked fixed. No disrespect to anybody, but it looked like a whole scam. That was boring. Then there was a great fighter, a Cuban guy who's a champion. It was actually his first time fighting in Vegas, which was strange. And he was fighting a Brazilian guy who looked over the hill. I was like, how old is this guy? 35. What? That guy looks 45. And he fights like it. He got washed in the first round. So I say that to say overall the matches were unimpressive. And then the main event itself was also rather unimpressive. But we were all kind of expecting that. But as a fight fan, you spend a tremendous amount of money on these tickets. It's okay because guy like me, I show up early. Like most of all the celebrities, they show up just for the main event. I show up for all the fights. I'm a fight fan, but the fights were whack. So I was not impressed. But I did enjoy myself, and I enjoyed some of the notable folks that were there. Like for example, DJ Drama. I grew up on his mixtapes, and so though most people wouldn't recognize him as a celebrity, they don't know his face. I know his face, and so it was cool to see him. He's a humble, accessible dude, and so it was a good time. And I'll go through the footage tomorrow and talk a little bit about Opportunity.
Okay, Brandon said a cash app. This is the Brandon at the conference.
Yes, indeed.
He said, currently trying to build a solid character. The overarching qualities I pursue is leadership, rationality, integrity, ambition, and being of action. What are your most important character traits?
Well, let me address these that you've mentioned. One of the most challenging ones is leadership because it involves so much. And I'd rather than pursue leadership, you really want to pursue all the collection of all those other traits, and they add up to leadership. You see, if I was trying to teach someone how to be a leader, that would be largely impossible. Now, I can teach you management techniques and strategies and ways to exercise and demonstrate power, but you'd be the greatest leader if you're able to exemplify a lot of these other characteristics you mentioned, such as being rational, having integrity, being ambitious, and taking action. If you can add up those together, that's generally what adds up to leadership. And the most important thing, what you may have heard me say before, is that men will yield to you generally when they know that you can do things that they cannot do, or you're willing to persist beyond where they will persist to. So the leader is usually the one who is best in class at whatever the class is about. So you have to outperform men to get their respect. That's a typical way of leadership. That's the one that's most comfortable for me. Another means of leadership is when you take care of everyone, which is to say people think of the alpha male as the one who dominates everyone in the community, but the alpha male is also the one who takes care of everyone in the community, which is to say that you make sure that everyone's safe, everyone's listened to, they feel heard, they feel accounted for, they feel like they matter. And that's when the community makes you the leader, because they know that you're keeping an eye on everything, looking at the good of us all. So if you make sure that you're exercising good character and good traits, it will add up to leadership, and you won't have to take leadership. It will be set at your feet, because truth is the leadership position can be a stressful position, and most people aren't built for it, and they don't want it, and they're happy to yield it to you. It was said of Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. He stated, "I found the crown of France in the gutter, and I picked it up." Think on that.
Okay, on PayPal, we have none of the above is back and said, man and woman products are clean. I know the profit margin isn't there with clothing brands, but would love to see more options in the catalog. Excited for the beanie all the same.
Sir, yes, sir. So shall it be. You remind me of that man and woman brand. We need to go up.
Okay. We have Solon said, peace to the saints. How would you identify on passing an opportunity because you were fearful or it wasn't for you, whether it be in business, relationships, etc.?
I've passed opportunities due to fear. It's been a long time, but I remember when I was in university, I could have taken the opportunity of majoring in electrical engineering and computer science. And I was fearful that I didn't have the requisite background, namely in mathematics, which is strange because I've always excelled in mathematics. But I was aware that I went to a terrible high school in Los Angeles, and everyone else mostly went to private schools or elite public schools, pretty much everyone. And we're talking about like, not only did they go to great schools, these are like the valedictorian and the salutatorian or whatever they call them. So these are like the top guys. And so I was like, and there's really not any Black people at Berkeley in general, and particularly not in the EECS or electrical engineering and computer science department. So I was like, it probably wouldn't make sense for me to go in there. It was fear. Felt like I'd be an imposter in there, which was not the case. And I didn't have any proper guidance. I was a lost youth. And this is very common. And this is one of the major things that drives me to share this message, because most of what's scaring us is not the reality of things. It's our perception of things. And most of what we lack is good knowledge. And there are very few people that have it. And ironically, the people who have it don't care to give it out, especially not for free. And then you have people who don't have knowledge and they're trying to charge you for it. This is comedy. Weigh that up.
Okay. And I may have already said this one, but Ricardo sent tuition.
Shout out to Ricardo. Actually, I saw him much earlier today, on the meeting where we're settling the location for Man and Woman Day. Yep. And those are the important initiatives that I'm starting and the Saints are working with me on that will be world changing. And that's one of those things where it's like, we just took the opportunity. There should have already been a Man and Woman Day, but no one else did it. So we're getting after it. And, when this exists in the world and it becomes a real thing, we will be the ones who were the framers of this. And there may be those who say, well, why you guys? Well, why not us? It could be you, which is to say no one else did it. So we did it. We didn't need permission. We took initiative. And that's what being a man is about.
I'm caught up.
Saints, I'll give you some time to send in your questions, comments as we wind down. I also, for those of you who didn't get to catch it live, it's going to be a 2-part piece. I posted up part 1, which was when we're heading to the Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia fight, just to see what that experience is like in general and in particular on the VIP side of things. Next time, so that it's more of a visual treat for you guys, we'll make sure that we show up when the celebrities show up to the fight. Obviously, I go through the VIP entrance. It's the same entrance Dave Chappelle, 2 Chainz, and all these characters go in. But being that I actually love fights, I show up early to watch all the boxing matches. But next time we'll show up, just for the main event, which is when they show up, just to give you guys the footage so you can get that experience, because it is unique.
And that sacrifice, because like you said, you enjoy boxing, so you're gonna miss part of
a great part of it. Yes.
We have Joshua sent $50.
Baller alert.
He says, one of my biggest mistakes in life was not cutting out many friends and cousins I grew up with. I realized when you elevate your life, most are not genuinely happy for you, but rather purposely hold you back. Yeah. Wish I learned this lesson earlier. Peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints. There's so much wisdom in that. In fact, I want to add on something I heard from a young man recently on a consultation, Haitian young man. And he said, Marquette, my father and even my girlfriend's father, they tell me to go to school. School's so important. I say, I understand. Immigrant communities, school is extremely important because it is the surest way into a certain income level. But what they don't realize is that entrepreneurs make significantly more money than doctors, lawyers, and all the professions that they esteem. But there's so much certainty in medical school. There's certainty in law school. There's certainty of income. There's certainty of prestige. I said, but understand this. I said, they're Haitian, right? He says, yes. I say, okay, are either of them in the professions they're telling you to go into? He was like, no. I said, okay, great. And they're largely telling you this based on immigrant culture or Haitian culture. What is the state of Haiti right now? What is the state of Haiti? It's bad, which is to say that you're coming from a retrograde economy with the values of the persons from that retrograde economy. You're coming into the most advanced economy in the world. America might not be the most advanced in some cases, but in terms of having a dynamic economy, economists around the world will tell you America is the most advanced economy in the world, which is why when we have a Joe Biden and it sends America into recession, it's going to send the whole world into recession. We lead everything for the time being. Now, that being said, you went from a retrograde economy into the most advanced economy in the world where you could literally be anything. And you're going to listen to the advice and old world thinking of people who come from a backwater on how to make it out here in this big world. Don't do that. That's foolish. They don't know. They don't know. They're telling you their best guess. They're not telling you what they've lived and what they've seen. I'm telling you what I know as one who has literally managed the program at Johns Hopkins Medical, as a man who has personal friends who are physicians, a significant number of them, males and females, and ones you heard of, like Dr. Ben Carson. I'm telling you as one who knows these people and have lived with these people and have watched them go through medical school and have also invited them to Saint City. And when they see how I live and they look at how they live, they say, what am I doing being a doctor? And I tell them it's too late for you. You went to all that medical school. Don't mess it up now. You can't be me. You can't be me. Don't admire me. Be you. Don't admire me. Be you. And you're a doctor, and that's okay. I'm an entrepreneur. It's too late for you to boss up. Well, I guess maybe unless they take Boss University, it's never too late, right? Give them a chance.
Okay, we have Emmanuel just became a patron.
Shout out to E.
We have.
I hope that's not the homie, the doctor, my doctor homie. Okay, I was about to say that hurts. I ain't talking about you, bro.
We on PayPal, we have EJ said tuition, Sass Know Nothing,
in
peace
a
to
real
the
way.
saints.
In a real way.
We have Jerome said, I appreciate your wisdom. Thank you for the 3-sentence Bible. Keeps things simple and powerful.
Yes.
I work with the youth and I hold those words dear, especially when we struggle to figure out how we should be. Thank you. Peace to the saints.
And it's so simple. And he's right. And the youth need things that are clear and simple and reliable. Absolutely. And shout out to all the men who have a positive impact on the youth, because the youth need more real men around them. And also the last piece to what Joshua stated, and this is hard to believe. And this is why, honestly, sometimes I get off the lives a little sooner than I want to, just because I'm not really understanding who I'm talking to. You see, when I see people send a baller alert, I'm the kind of guy that if I'm in the chat, I'm like, yo, shout out to Joshua. Like, he's doing well. He's prospering. I'm happy for that. Most people, as Joshua pointed out, whether it's people in your family or people not in your family, they don't have a saintly nature. They're not happy to see you win. And that's why sometimes you have to be cautious of the things that you share with people, the things that you give people, the way you live, and the things that you show. One of the great errors of Tate is that, the man bought so many supercars, and I look at it like, oh, that's so player, bruh, that's player. Show all them cars, bruh. Switch them up every day just for your boy. Switch them up. Floss on these 304s. Please keep calling people brokies and asking what color their Bugatti is. I love it. I love it. Hell, ask me what color my Bugatti is. I don't have one. Floss on me. It's fun. I'll participate. The point is this. I enjoy it. I like to see player stuff. I like to see people winning. Why? Because I'm winning and I'm a happy guy. Most people are not winning. If you ask somebody, and what color is your Bugatti? They're going to have their feelings deeply hurt, you see. And even if you don't ask them, well, what color is your Bugatti? Even if you don't ask them that, they're looking at you in your fancy car, living your lifestyle. Oh my goodness, they are salty. So, at some level, flossing can get you in trouble. And even if you're not flossing, there are people who are watching and who are not happy for you, because as I remind those who are saintly, we are the leadership class, which is an indicator that there are few of us. But if you do want to be one of us, improve on your purity of heart. When you see someone winning, that should make you feel pride, meaning you should be proud of them, as though when they are lifted up, you too are lifted up. I love to see you guys performing. That's why I sell your products on my website and make you money. I'm happy to see you win. I could just gobble it up all for myself and I'd be entitled to that, because that's pretty much the standard. That's what everyone else does, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever go on Destiny's website and see him selling the products of his fans? No. Do you see Alba and Preach selling the products of their fans? No, no one. I'm the only one. And I do that because I like, matter of fact, I love to see you win. It makes me feel pride. I feel proud of you. When I'm out and about and someone says, man, that jacket is cold, I say, oh yeah, Justin made this jacket. Go to www.thesasn.com. Justin, yeah, he made this coat. It's cold as hell. Couldn't have done a better one myself. I'm proud.
Okay, I'm going to read this one. Zoman said, I'm Haitian. He's right. They only know school.
That's not only the Haitians. That's just generally true of people who come from retrograde economies, the developing world, third world countries, whatever you want to call it. And understandably so. They want something that's stable because they've experienced so much instability. It makes perfect sense. That's a reasonable thing to seek emotionally.
And Mike said, congratulations to my little brother, Emmanuel Saldivar, on his Patreon membership. It wasn't the Emmanuel you were talking about. Yeah. Wow. He said, building SASN culture in the Pacific Northwest. And Emmanuel's also the one that bought the Jab Journal earlier for Mitchell.
Ah, that makes sense. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to the Saints in Idaho. It's a beautiful section out there.
Yeah.
It really is. And, at some point, God willing, please let me bust off the straps. Just give me like 5. I want 2 straps. I know it's not safe, but just give me 2 straps. I'm busting them both off. Oh, carry on.
Okay, we have Biko at
$55.
Baller
alert.
Said, peace to the Saints. I bought Boston University, ready to learn more. Oh, just received my backpack briefcase. Next level flexing, for real, for real.
In a real way. And you know what? One thing I do want to do is when I get a chance, there's 2 guys I see who wear backpacks that are just atrocious. One of them is, Andre Ward, and the other one is Sean Porter. Their backpack game is so weak. And sadly, the only time I would see these guys usually is when I'm going to a boxing match. I'm not going to take like a whole backpack to the boxing match, but I think one time, maybe when we're exiting the boxing match, I'll have somebody bring me a fresh one in the car, and bless them with that so that they could boss up.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And shout out to Biko for getting Boss University and all the real ones.
Carry on. And the backpack, you're looking like a boss.
True story.